Proverbs 14 and 12. There's a way that seems right unto a man, but that way will lead to that man's destruction. Proverbs 30 and 5. Every word of Yahuwah is pure, is a shield unto them who keeps it or obeys it. Again, Proverbs 30 and 5. Every word of Yahuwah is true. It is a shield unto them who obeys it. Proverbs 28 and 9. For the hearing of the word of Yahuwah is the beginning of the foundation of life. It is his power. And anyone who disregards his word, as written in his Torah, prayers will not and cannot be heard. Shalom, Yashua, Elder DFG. You know, I thought it would be a good time just to do follow-up teaching on Shabbat's message on the Shabbat, the seventh day. And not to keep you long or keep you as long as Yahuwah keeps us here together, but to talk about, you know, the change that, you know, many of our people, you know, confess to want to be a part of, but never, ever self-assess to gauge, you know, what it takes to bring about that change, and, you know, how to measure it, how to gauge it. What's the drive? What's the inhibition? Where's the self? Where's the personal accountability? That you know that the change that you profess to have become, or the change that you profess to seek, where's the level of commitment for it? You know, Israel has a horrific habit of that old saying, talking loud and doing nothing, projecting upon, you know, the world its miseries, projecting upon the world, you know, its self-declarations. In other words, I'm right because I say so. Or even worse, Yahuwah, you know, is listening to me because I say so. And the whole time, it's just rhetoric, it's just empty noise. Complaining about things that are not happening for them, but don't take any, or refuse to take any control of influencing their outcome. Unless that outcome has something to do, brothers and sisters, with pure, unadulterated self-centeredness. Loving Yahuwah with all their heart and all their mind and all of their heart, as long as it aligns up with whatever they have consumed themselves with, all of their mind, all of their, you know, strength and all of their heart. In other words, as long as whatever I desire don't conflict with what Yahuwah says, then, you know, I'm all in. And even if I desire something that conflicts with Yahuwah says, I'll still say Yahuwah gives me, you know, the leverage, the will to do it. You guys remember when we were in Christy Antics? Because if you are a Christian, yeah, I'm talking to you, but you have no skin in this conversation. In other words, this is again unconsequential for you. You're wasting time. You can leave right now. You have my permission. But those of us who are professing to be Israel inside and out, have you ever stopped to think about what I just said? The change that you profess to see, the change that you profess to want. Where's your work ethic to back that up? At what point did you stop? And I'm not talking about when you had your come to Yahuwah moment, like you had your come to Jesus moment. No, I'm talking about at what point in your life did you ever stop and ask yourself the question, okay, this is where I changed my life. This is where I changed my life. Right now, this moment is where I changed my life. I remember early in my career, brothers and sisters, I had just been, I had been teaching home Bible studies, and I'm talking about I was in my early 20s teaching home Bible studies, and it got to the point for about almost 3 years I was teaching, going from house to house teaching these studies. Me and two younger brothers who were, you know, assisting me in my teaching. I was teaching, and they were there as support, but they were fellow believers, Christians, born again Pentecostal, non-denominational Pentecostals, baptized in Jesus' name, Holy Ghost, evidence speaking in tongue. Christian teaching, 24 years old, me. And I did it for 3 years. And it got to that place where my conviction about having a conviction about it started to catch up with me. Because I realized that somewhere in that process, I was only going through the process, if that makes sense. In other words, I was doing all of the spiritual or holy things, or everything I could see that the book said don't do. I was doing my best not to do it. But I also noticed that the interchange, I'm talking about that interchange where I no longer identified with who I was before I started that, nothing had shifted. I just had like a religious mask on me. Like many of you do right now. You just got a religious mask on. You're not who you say you are. You're pretending to be what you say you are. The change that has not changed. And I remember I did that for 3 years. And I was just, and it was, and I knew deep in my heart. I mean, the teaching, that I was teaching was foundational, based off of the United Pentecostal, they call it UPC, Assemblies of the World, or UPA, one of them. I think it was in both of them at different points in times. So foundationally, I was teaching their doctrine and the truth, foundationally. But that doctrine was just, again, a mask, because inside of myself, I was searching for myself. And I felt like if I just kept doing that, somehow or another, everything would just turn out all right. And when I died, I wouldn't go to hell. And it went on for 3 years of my life, brothers and sisters. And guess what I realized? At the end of the day, I was still the same person. It's almost like putting on clean clothes, but not taking a bath. And wondering why when you walk by people, they're holding their nose like, what's that smell? And after my little brief 3-year journey, teaching, predominantly New Testament, that's why I say to my brothers and sisters, they're never going to confuse me with this New Testament foolishness, New Testament stuff, please. When I say I taught it for 3 years, I don't mean, 2 or 3 days a week. I'm talking about from sun come up to sun go down. 7 days a week. Totally 100% dedicated to the teaching. So I know what's in that book. I mean, that lie. I know what's in that sorcery, but I digress. So when I finally came out of that thing, I had to go and, back and pursue a real, not pursue my job because I was working, but the job I was working with, was just Monday through Friday, more or less 9 to 5. And it was getting just enough to, take care of myself and my 2 young sons at the time. And something happened abruptly on that particular job and put me with no job. You follow me? And a part of it because of the teaching, because the people on the job knew about me being a Christian and knew that I was teaching holiness, whatever that meant at that time, as they do today. Compromised holiness, of course. Holiness on the outside, but rotten on the inside. But anyway, so when that fell apart, I had to get another opportunity, looking for a job, trying to put my experience, to work, what I had learned, my schooling to work, and took another job. And inside that job, there were opportunities there, opportunities that were missing, what I'm saying? And I was looking to get opportunities, but also that inner man that I was hiding had, course, there was no more covering because I took it off myself because I realized, you know what I'm saying, that true change happens inside out, not outside in. And I hadn't dealt with the inside. I was just, doing things on the outside. And so when I walked away from that, then the outside became the inside became the outside. And there I was, back in like the dog to the vomit, back into them old behaviors that I was doing, you know what I'm saying? And my, after high school, college, preparation for life years. Adulthood taking over. Y'all know what I'm saying. It was ignorance, but it was still adulthood. And in that time, when I took on the next job, I had picked up, the habits of, as the old saying back in the day, living for the weekend. and in that living of the weekend, I would go to work on Monday mornings, dealing with the consequences for living for the weekend. And I remember, knowing that I had the qualifications to do more and wanting to do more, but never being, chosen to do more. And since it was the mid '80s, a lot of the racism was still very prominent, as it's coming back now. It died down for a little while in the '90s, early 2000s, but it's back now with, how you say, on steroids. Y'all better get ready for that. But anyway, at that time, the residues of the civil rights and race, it was still there. It was, it was ending, but it was still there. Affirmative action hadn't kicked in, all those other programs to get a little bit of diversity for, for our people, so-called black at the time. And so I remember, doing all these self-destructive behaviors and then wondering why they weren't giving me an opportunity to advance myself on the job. And I remember I had a moment of what I call a moment of clarity. And I said, well, you know what, are these people racist? You know what I'm saying? Are that racist? They were racist, but I said, are they that racist? Is that why I'm not moving up? Or is it because every Monday, I go to work half hungover? I go to work, so tired because I didn't get the rest of the weekend that I'm trying to find ways not to do the damn work. And they're noticing it and they don't care about what I'm saying because they're actually looking at what I'm doing. And I guess their attitude was like, why are you doing all this complaining? Why don't you just quit? Go find something else if you don't like it, because we ain't giving you no opportunity in here. You haven't shown any type of, works that would be worthy of a promotion. And they were right, but of course, in your own self-righteousness, this is what I'm talking about. And this is here and there, pulling two things together. They were talking about there. Because that's still a behavior within our nation right now today. Looking for something, you follow me, complaining about something, but at the same time still in total rebellion because you don't want to give up something. Holding on to something. Don't even know it's a drag on your life because you have learned to carry that extra drag because it makes you feel like somebody. And then you try to say, or they try to say, well, this is Jesus' will, God's will. They might put Yahuahs, Yahuwah on top of that, but they still talking to God and Jesus, because when you still carrying your past and you're not dealing with yourself, you can call out on Yahuwah, you can call out on, your whatever name you want to call on, or don't call on other names. Brothers and sisters, if that's you, you might well just call on it. Yahuwah don't hear your prayers. The book said clearly, Proverbs 20:89. Those who don't obey my Torah, your prayers are an abomination unto me. I just read to you again, or spoken to you, Proverbs 14:12. It said, guess what? If you're doing your version of you, then guess what? That's what you believe is right. But it ain't right. It's going to seem to you. Solomon wouldn't have said there's a way that seems right to you. If there's not a way that seems right to you, that you're wrong in. Especially those of you who can never be wrong. I'm talking about you Israelites, 10-toe down, but never, willing to change. All you change is your ideology, your religiousity. You stop praying to Jesus, and now you made Yahuwah your new version of Jesus. And then talking about Yahuwah is giving you some permissive will to do whatever the hell you want, and you're a goddamn lying devil. No. How about that? But anyway, back to the story about, what happened to me, early on, in the workforce. I asked myself that question. I'll never forget. I don't know if it was a Friday evening or Saturday or Monday morning. I don't know. But I said to myself, I said, well, these people just being racist against me? Or is it because I'm coming and going to work late twice a month, calling out, at least once a month, you know what I'm saying, off the job, calling out sick because I'm hungover or tired. And again, you're talking about I was in my 20s. I'm not talking about some of you devils who are still doing it in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, 60s, some of you. Now I'm talking about I was still relatively a young man, but one in a state of reflection, one who was trying to figure out life, really serious about it. There were others depending on me. And also trying to keep my other foot out of hell because one was in hell and the other one was slipping fast, going in the direction. And so I had that moment. I said, okay, what is it? Is it my behavior or is it racism? And I had to deal with it. And you know what I did? I dealt with it. I remember looking at, in the mirror. That's why I use that term. Have you looked in the mirror to deal with yourself? All that means is self-reflection and changing something about yourself. Not looking in the mirror to see what you look like. No, it's a metaphor for self-examination, inner self-examination. And so I took the time to do it. And I'm going to tell you something, brothers and sisters. It was one of the best decisions I made in my entire life. Second to giving my heart, soul to Yahuwah in this Torah and teaching and leading and being and allowing myself to be what Yahuwah had shaped me to be from the time of my mother's womb. This man, this prophet, this king within me. Second to that decision, that was the best decision I made. Because guess what? You know what I realized? It had nothing to do with my melanin. Because what I did, I said the only way for me to know the difference, and some of y'all heard this story before, but I said the only way for me to know if it was outside thing or inside thing, I had to deal with the inside thing. The inner self. That's why when Yahuwah told Samuel to go look for King David, he said, don't look at the outward appearance. Look what's in their heart. Look what comes out their mouth. Look at their behavior. Do they keep their word? Are they trustworthy? Do they let their passion control their reasoning? How they feel about something? Versus what does say Yahuwah? Because it makes a difference. A huge difference, brothers and sisters. Not to lecture you, just to remind you. Because if you're doing you and not doing this Torah, you're just putting money in bag with holes in. It don't matter what you think. You ain't going to see Yahuwah. The devil's blessing you. You just don't know it's the devil. And he ain't blessing you, he's just sustaining your ass. Because when you're blessing, you're moving up. You're increasing. Stagnation is not a blessing. That's Christian Antics 101. Just wait, just wait. But you get old and crusty. Wrinkled and bald. But I had to come to that moment in my life, and I realized, you know what, for me to figure out if it's racism or not, I better change the inner self. So guess what I did? I stopped living for the weekend. I went home and went my behind the bed when I got off work on Fridays. Saturday, Sunday, I rested. Remembered some of the things I learned, from this book, although I was teaching, from the book, that part of the book that's no longer in this book. And within 3 months, I went from someone they weren't considering to someone who got promoted. I was the same me on the outside, but I was a different me on the inside. Because I got to work on time. I did things. My brain was clear. My mind was clear. They could tell me something, I wouldn't forget it. I kept my word. If I said I'm going to take care of something, I wasn't going to do something again, I didn't do it again. I didn't have to go around apologizing all the time. I'm sorry. They don't say sorry is as sorry does. If I tell you sorry, you should say you sure are sorry. You're one sorrowful person because you never do what you say, or you do your version of it, your convoluted part of it. And then you're thinking that what's holding you back, Yahuwah? Why haven't these things that I'm needing from you have happened? Or you delude yourself, say they're happening, and the damn thing happened. Anybody can tell you, fool, your life ain't changed in decades. But change ain't changed until change happens. And so that's why Yahuwah said, no, I'm not concerned about your words. It's what we were talking with Jeremiah was telling. He said, y'all don't care nothing about your words. That's what he talking about when he said the heart is definitely wicked, desperately wicked above all things, who will know it. He's talking about that, brothers and sisters. Excuse me shaking. Y'all know I get uncomfortable sometimes. Hallelujah. Praise Yahuwah. Okay, just trying to. But anyway. But this is what he was saying. That's why you said, no, I'm gonna look at what you did. Not what you said. I'm gonna see what you did. I'm gonna see what you do. You know, when you get an attitude, you get mad. You don't like something. Let me see what you're gonna do when these challenges come towards you. How you gonna respond? Let me see how you're gonna, look at something that you're accountable for, and how are you going to engage that thing that you're looking at, that you're accountable for? How are you going to engage it? How are you going to own it? And that's why he said, no, I'm going to look at your ways, and I'm going to look at your behavior, because your ways and your behavior means way more to me than any word that you can say, or write, or type. No, I'm going to look at what you're actually doing. And for me, when I took, and that's the inner self that Yahuwah was talking about, and when I looked at myself on that job and I changed my inner self, all the doors for opportunity opened up. Within a 3-4 year period of time, I went from making something like $18,000 a year to over $100,000 a year. In less than 5 years. This is not a conflation. It happened. But had I just continued to use, everybody else as a problem, or find other ways to say that somehow or another, it's because, the world hates or everybody hates me, and people always ridiculing me, and I know what you're going through because I'm going through the same thing, being ridiculed and talked about. You ever ask yourself the question, maybe you being talked about and ridiculed is just? See, that's what looking in the mirror looks like. But see, a hard-headed person, a rebellious, a stiff-necked person, a self-righteous person, a holy person, they're never going to do that. No way. They're just going to do what they want to do. And they're going to use clever words, and they're going to do shit in the dark, behind the back, and then when you catch their asses, they're going to plead you're missing, no, I ain't missing nothing. That's a lie. You still lying. That's why I say, don't let nobody, sorrowful people do sorrowful things, brothers. So don't get caught up in somebody telling you that they're sorry. Just recognize that's just another form of witchcraft. It'd be better off if they said, like David, I was wrong. I sinned against you, Yahuwah, and I'm going to fix it. Just tell me what I need to do, and it'll be done. But just as it was in that particular story, brothers, so it's the same thing now. What's holding Israel back, as a group and as a collective or individual, is behavior, bad behavior. And they were talking about Bad Bunny in the Super Bowl and how bad he was, I'm sure, because he was grabbing this little thing down there. You can tell when a man don't have nothing down there because he always grabbing the pants because there ain't nothing in there but pants. A real man, prepared for those times of the life, they ain't got to grab down there. They know it's there, and it shows up when it's called upon in a righteous way. But this bad behavior, this perverted behavior of trying to blame others for the things that you do is not going to help you, no more than it helped me. Until I took that time of reflection and analyzed every single thing I was doing. Was I doing just enough to get by, to keep a job? Am I doing just enough to get by, to just say, I'm an Israelite, and that, when I die, Yahuwah is going to have a place for me to be? Doing just enough. But never ask yourself the question, is just enough enough? Because according to this book, no such thing as just enough is enough. This book says that the people of Yahuwah should be humble. So my people who are called by my name, humble means listening to authority, listening to who is put over you, listening to who's in charge. That's humble. But you're bringing that perverted Christianity over here talking about that's humble in humility. In other words, they want us walking around with our heads down like this, brothers and sisters. David said, "So you who are teaching my hands to war, fingers to fight." That don't sound. That's what the kind of humble talk about courageous. But he was the same. David said, "I've sinned against you, Yahuwah. I acknowledge my sins. Wash me with hyssop, and I'll be cleaned." Psalm 51. That's what humility that Yahuwah was looking for. A repentant heart, a contrite spirit, and a humble, a spirit that can be told what to do according to Yahuwah's Torah, and you do what you're told. And your personal opinion has nothing to do with anything. Just makes you a fool. And you take this word of Yahuwah and you use it for your selfish ass ways, Yahuwah going to destroy you. Going to mark you from damnation. And you won't even know it. You'll still be doing all of your little your hooligans. You'll still be doing it. You'll still be the person that everybody can always count on to get a certain reaction from when a certain thing pretty much, press your little sensitive button with your tender, delicate behind. And as though somebody has to tolerate a fool. Nobody's going to tolerate you, fool. Well, fools will tolerate you. But the righteous ain't going to tolerate your foolishness. And that old thing, someone said to someone else way back, brothers and sisters, when we were first putting together, the work here, and someone had offended them, and they told that person, where'd you come from, old treacherous Judah? Who called you? It was one, when I say daughter of Zion, I ain't talking about righteous. So just because I call you a daughter of Zion or a man of Zion or the people of Zion don't make you righteous. That's just an identity. That's just saying you're Yasharel. But it was one daughter of Zion dealing with another daughter of Zion because the other daughter of Zion had stuck her nose in somebody's business where it didn't belong. And that person was telling that person, tend to your own damn business. Don't you have issues going on in your own house? When you going to deal with that? Why are you over here talking about what I'm talking about? Or got problems with what I'm talking about? And then you're going to deal with that. But see, that's treacherous Judah. Quick to want to tell everybody about everything that's wrong in the world, but then when you go and look at them, say, now what about, okay, now tell us about how you dealt with yourself. And you've been following this work here, brothers and sisters. I've said this more times than not. And so some of you are like, oh, something must have happened. Something is always happening. See, that's another problem that many of you have. Oh, something must have happened. That's why elders talking about what he's talking about. Something is always happening. And that's why I'm always talking about something. We're in a corrupt, evil world. Job said the earth has been given over to the hands of the wicked. How can I not be talking about something? But I'm going to talk about things that's relevant to us. I'm not going to talk about things that does not matter to us. I don't care if Shannon Sharp was telling some woman to lay on top of him as though, he was a female. I don't care about that. That has nothing to do with anything, as far as I'm concerned. But I'm concerned about the things that are influencing and impacting my circle. Those who love Yahuwah and those things that Yahuwah has given me the eyes to see. Because there are many in our circle, brothers and sisters of influence, who cannot see because they refuse to look in that mirror. But when they read Jeremiah where he says, a foolish people have eyes to see but can't see, ears to hear but won't hear, that nation will suffer. See, they don't understand that Yahuwah is really talking about you, them. They never even consider that the book is talking about them. And so what they do, when the truth comes up, oh, well, elder must be feeling some kind of way. I'm always feeling some way about something. Otherwise, what did Sirach 22 say? A slothful man, always sitting on his, ass, it ain't a foul word. They don't even shake his hand. And that goes through the same thing with the lazy ass female. Sitting around, but got something to say all the time. They don't even touch, don't even shake their hand because their hand is full of what he said, dung. We know that word means feces, manure. Say disengage, don't engage them, disengage with them. They'll stick their hand out to pretend that they're with you, but at the whole time, their hearts are evil. And they never, brothers and sisters, take responsibility. And that's why, as I said from the message, are perpetual underachievers. You'll never get what you want. And you're not getting it on the other side. You can lie to yourself all you want. When I get over on the other side, I'm going to have this and I'm going to have that. You go to the other side, all you're going to have is fire. You're going to burn. If you can't show here that you can be obedient, how the hell you think you're just going to go behind the back of you? What you think he's going to be looking over that way and you're going to just take your little pretty, what you think is pretty or what you think is fine, and you're just going to go right behind him? I done told my brothers and sisters how many times, Yahuwah don't see you like that. Jezebel was a beautiful woman. And when she put upon when she adorned herself, she was super beautiful. And y'all threw her behind right off that damn balcony and broke her neck. You give a damn about how fine she was. She was a queen. Some of you say, well, yeah, but she was worshiping Baal. Yeah, you worshiping Baal too. You just don't know it's Baal. Because you really think that you could do what you want to do and call on Yahuwah, and just because you said Yahuwah's name, that somehow or another he hears your voice. That's not what he said. Proverbs 28:9 says what? Those who refuse my Torah, and I'm talking about everything in this Torah, you do not have the right to speak against it, say anything against it, and live your life contrary to it. You do not. If you do it, he says your prayers will never be heard by him. That's Proverbs 28:9. And you can't get around it. Doesn't matter what you think. You're just an ignorant, simple-minded fool. And nobody can do anything to help you. Because the book says you're marked for damnation. You're never going to keep your word. You're always going to be doing some slick, SHIT behind, someone's back. You're not trustworthy. And this is why Israel as a nation, Yahuwah says, we conduct ourselves like, what did Hosea say? Like a bunch of whores. And and some of you getting offended. I'm like, why get offended if that's how you live in? See, a whore does whatever she wants to do, not what she's told to do. She just conjure up her own little ways. That's a natural whore. And the spiritual whore, it does the same thing, spiritually. What I mean by that is that regardless of what they're supposed to do according to this book, they do what they want to do. Because they never, ever, ever deal with the fact that, Yahuwah word is supreme, and supreme means you don't get to contest it. You know, I heard somebody make a comment to me recently, and this is what they said. You know, nobody has all the truth. That's lying on the scripture. That is lying on this. That's like saying the Yahuwah word is a lie then. Because Yahuwah said, my word is perfect. That I'm not, number 23:19 says, you are not a man that he should lie, nor the son of man that he shall repent. How does Proverbs 30:5 says that every single word of Yahuwah is pure, and if you keep in that word, you don't have the truth? That's a lying spirit. And but see, brothers and sisters, this is what happens. When you think that you are in this relationship with the Creator, and there is no accountability between you and the Creator. And there is accountability between you and the Creator, because he put that accountability there. You can go right over to Exodus chapter 18. Let's take a little visit over there. And y'all willing, we're going to come back over here to the book of Isaiah. But look what it says here in the book of Exodus. And this is for all of you, little, smarty pants, think you know everything. Then why you don't know this? And if you know it, why you don't obey it? It says this. This is Deuteronomy 18:18. He said 18 and 19. He's saying this is Yahuwah using a man to give direction to Moses. He said, hearken now to my voice, and I will give you counsel, and Elohim Yahuwah shall be with you. Be for the people Yahuwah's ward, that you may bring their causes unto Yahuwah. So you be the intermediary, Moses, and you shall teach the ordinance and the Torah, and you shall show them the way of the Torah. As a matter of fact, he says this. A little bit earlier there, he told him to go collect some people. But we'll get there. Matter of fact, I guess I'm going to have to go to verse 15 to bring about the clarity. It says, and Moses said unto his father-in-law, because the people come unto me to inquire of Yahuwah, and when they have a matter, they come unto me, and I judge between one and another, and I make them, and I do make them know the statutes of Yahuwah. He says, I make them know. Moses said, I grind it to powder. I come to them, I say, no, this is what Yahuwah said. So if nobody has the truth, then how could Moses say this? And this book said we're always going to have a Moses. Deuteronomy 18:18 says that. 18 and 15 and 18:18 says it. And there's nowhere where Moses get rebuked. Nowhere here it says nobody has the total truth. And if you think contrary, you the one that don't have the total truth. Because you're calling Yahuwah prophet a liar. You're calling Yahuwah a liar. Let's read a little bit further down here, brothers and sisters, just for content and clarity. The change that needs to happen, will never happen. So for so many, that's why I say 9 out of 10 of our people are going to get destroyed. Why? Because of their rebellion. Because they have perverted the word of Yahuwah and made themselves to be spiritual whores. So they refuse to deal with the inner man, the inner woman. Look what it says, verse 17. Moses' father-in-law said unto him, the thing that you do is not good. You will surely wear yourself out, both you and this people that is with you. But this thing is too heavy for you. You're not able to do all of this alone. So now he's saying, not only can you have the truth, there are others can have the truth too. The truth, though, not their version, not a little piece here and a piece there. Well, he got a piece over here, and he got a piece over there, and he got a piece. That is that's nutty. That's insane. There's only one truth, and it's going to be aligned with Yahuwah's Torah. Look what he says, verse 19. Now hearken to my voice, and I will give you counsel. Drop down to 20. And he said, you shall teach that you find able-minded men and women, not women, find able-minded men Because we'll get there. Look at verse 20. You shall teach them the ordinance, the Torah, and you shall show them the way wherein they shall walk, or they must walk. You shall show them how they must walk. Didn't say Yahuwah is going to come down here and talk to some individual because they say so. And he does not change. So anyone who's saying he changed, you are a liar. You are self-deceived. Most likely marked for damnation, and you will never change. And you can wait on Yahuwah all you want. You're going to be waiting. And that waiting is going to be in vain because you're going to burn in hell. Because you were too proud, too arrogant. But yet you profess to be humble. Humble is righteousness. Humble is obedience. Humble is doing what you're told to do, looking in that mirror, making the necessary adjustment in your life, and then getting it done. Humble and means that you don't leave a brother or sister hanging. You don't walk away from a brother or sister, you know what I'm saying, when they're crying out, calling out. I'm talking about the righteous among us. You don't become Mr. or Miss Criticism. You become Mr. or Miss, conciliatory. How do I help? How can I iron sharpen iron? How can I contribute? Or maybe how can I just shut my trap that I call a mouth? But he goes on to say this, and you shall teach them, verse 20, you shall teach them the ordinance of the Torah, and you shall show them the way wherein they must walk, and the work that they must do. The work that they must do. Where's your work? Where's your fruit? Other than out there, pointing your finger at somebody. How life's changing because of you? Because you're being critical? Satire? So you think your satire is helping somebody. Your satire is nothing but your sorcery. He goes on this, verse 21. He says what? He said, moreover, you shall provide out of all the people able men, such as fear Yahuwah, men of truth. I can't emphasize this word. It's spelled M-E-N. Not a woman from a man, not the man from a woman's, not a woo man. Man that came out of, not her, not her, his help. Let me say that clearly. A man, a male, with a male, unit down there. His penis is not inverted. His penis is, how you say, exverted. It comes out. It's not in. A male, not one who call yourself a male, whatever. No, he said men. Y'all don't do transgenderism. He doesn't do lesbians. And he doesn't do rebellious men or women either, I might add. His thing is external. Her thing is internal. Just for clarity purposes, because some of you women behave like men. Because you're taking his word and taking his word out of context and projecting it like Yahuwah gave you the authority to say what you're not going to do. Yeah, right. In hell you'll burn. He goes on to say this, brothers and sisters. Moreover, you shall provide out of the people able men, such as fear Yahuwah, men of truth, men who hate covetousness, which is selfishness, and place them over them to be rulers over the thousands, and rulers over the hundreds, and rulers over the fifties, and rulers over 10. What word coming out my mouth that you don't understand? For all of you talking about nobody's supposed to tell you what to do. You don't listen to nobody but Yahuwah. Better yet, maybe it's time to put on your reading glasses. Maybe you need to stop just hearing the word and start doing the word. Even better. Maybe it's time for you to be the change that you want to see. Why don't you go first before you start telling everybody else what to do? But you won't. And that's the sad story of your life. You won't do it. You're not going to do it. Proverbs 28 and 9. Let's look at that. Here's Moses saying what he said, and here's Solomon, son of David, writing over here, who had more wisdom than anybody you know, including you, yourselves. And this is what he said. Hallelujah. Proverbs 28 and 9 reads, he that turns away his ear from hearing the Torah, in other words, you doing what you want to do regardless of what that Torah says, or speaking against it because you don't agree with that part. He told Ezekiel, eat the whole roll, not just eat the part you want to eat, Ezekiel. He said, no, the whole roll. I mean, you do all of it, except for where my prophet says, okay, this is not necessary, because Yahuwah is saying in this particular, like he told Amos, I don't want no feast days. Like he told Isaiah, I don't want to see nothing but your blood sacrifices and your ordinances, not your smokers. I don't want any of that right now from you. Keep that, hold back on that. Like he told Jeremiah, the day will come in the future in the renewed heaven and the renewed covenant, then you can give me these offerings and sacrifices again. So he is giving his prophet the authority to say, no, this is not necessary for this particular time that we're in. And he's talking about the so-called feast days, the sacrificial days. He's not talking about in terms of the moral law. The moral law will never go away. We saw that with Shadrach, the Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. No, that's not their Hebrew name, but that's the way you know them. That's the way I'm saying them. We saw that they would not bow down because it was a moral thing. I'm not going to bow down to the heathen's God. It was moral. And because they knew that if they bowed down, that they would be destroyed. They know they couldn't keep the sacrifices. They were in captivity. And everything would have been polluted anyway that they would have got their hand on. You think Nebuchadnezzar or one of the people went out and said, let's go some fresh, clean stuff so these Hebrews that we got here enslaved, house workers, so that they can do their little sacrifices. Yeah, right. You'd have been waiting. We saw in the book of Maccabees where that damn king is telling us, eat pork. You think they would have went out of their way to go get clean food? No way. So the moral law they kept. Sacrificial laws we're not expected to keep. And if there is any controversy, that's why he said I'm putting rulers and judges in place to help things get judged. What do you think that means, brothers and sisters? The truth is right there in front of us. Some of you, praise Yahuwah for you. You're listening. Some of you did not know, and when you hear, you adjust your life to it. Some of you are being blessed and prosperous because you have listened and made the adjustments that are required. But for the rest, he said, those that turn away their ears from hearing the Torah, even your prayer shall be an abomination. In other words, that word abomination means disgusting before Yahuwah. Yahuwah hates your prayers. And I don't care how again, much you clean yourself up on the outside. What the book said on, when Samuel, again, went to David, Yahuwah told Samuel, don't look at his outer parts. Don't look at the outward appearance, Samuel. Look for the inner part. It's exactly why Isaiah said in the book of Isaiah chapter, 64 and 6, he said, a man's righteousness. In other words, you doing your perverted thing, not with this Torah. Or you trying to convolute the Torah by mixing it with your things that discuss you. You will say, no, forget about what discuss you, sister. He said, you are discussed. He said, forget about what discuss you, brother. He said, no, you are discussed. Because your inner self is conflicting with my Torah. Your inner self is conflicting with what I said. And you're trying to pervert my righteousness with your own self-righteousness. which is what Isaiah says. Come over here, brothers and sisters. Might as well read it. Most of you, you know what I'm saying, I really believe in my heart, you're going to take this to heart. And you're going to apply this to your life. I think that instead of being out in these Baal temples today, worshiping the Baal gods, you're going to be glad you turned this video on. You're going to be glad you subscribed to this channel. Because you're going to actually see something that truly will help you be the change that you need to be the blessed as you claim the desire. But when you're over there looking at Yah's Torah and making declarations for all to see, because how you feel, sister, brother, you on a slippery slope. Look down. You're way too close to the edge. This book says clearly here. This is the book of Isaiah chapter, 64. And 64 and 6. As a warning for Isaiah 64 chapter, verse 6 but we are as unclean things, and all our righteousness are as filthy rags. He said, and we all do as fade as a leaf, and our iniquities like the wind have taken us away. He said that whole part we're talking about, when you're doing what you want to do, you're just the opposite of this. Now remember what I said. He said this part, brothers and sisters. He said you fade as a leaf, and your iniquities are like the wind and have taken away. Now come over here to the book of Psalms. Look what a man who changed on the inner part had to say. This is Psalms chapter 1, verse 3, verse 2. He said, but his delight is in the Torah of Yahuwah. And in his Torah, he meditates day and night. Means that person keeps the Torah. They apply the part that's applicable based off of what Yahuwah said is right or wrong, based off of what his rulers, prophets, and judges say. Not off of what they think. He goes on this, he says, and he shall be like a leaf planted by the rivers of water, that bring forth fruit in his season. And his leaf also will not wither. See what Isaiah just said over there? He said that leaf withers because they're doing your own thing. But David said if you do the thing that Yahuwah says to do, then your leaf won't wither. Do what you want to do, your leaf will wither. Then he goes on to say this. And his leaf was never wither, and whatever he does shall prosper. Over there in Isaiah said, when you're doing your own thing, he said, no, you're going to be like the wind. Matter of fact, if you fall down in the same chapter, look at verse 5. He said, therefore the wicked shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For Yah knows the ways of the righteous, but the way of the wicked, they shall perish. Just as Isaiah said, like the wind blows you away, and you're going to perish, you're going to burn right in hell. But you don't think so because you don't think so. And that's your problem. See, the righteous, self-righteous, they don't think they're wrong. And that is the problem. And this is why, again, Proverbs 28 and 9 says about them, dear brothers and sisters. Look what he says here. He says what? And this has to mean something to somebody. It says, what is this? It says, Proverbs chapter 29, verse 1. He that is often being reproved hardens their neck, and shall suddenly be destroyed. And there is no repentance, there is no hope, there is no remedy for them. They will never ever change. They will never stop doing what they're doing because they've never dealt with the inner self. They just put on clean clothes on that old dirty body that's dying every single day, rotting right in front of their face. And all the calisthenics and the good eating or whatever else you want to do ain't going to do a damn thing to stop it. It'll slow it down, but it's not going to stop it. We say life and death is in the power of the tongue, and those who don't respect it will eat the fruit thereof. Again, here's go to Proverbs chapter 30. Might as well. One more verse over. He said, what is this? Proverbs chapter 30, verse 5 says, every word of Yahuwah is a pure word. It is only a shield to them that put their trust in him. And he's talking about him means trust in his word. So you can't add to it because you disagree with it. He says what? You should not add into these words, lest you will be reproved and you're going to be a liar. In other words, he said going to mark you for damnation. What does Sirach 20 and 35 say? A thief. Let's go there. Sirach 20 and 35. Some of you are going to use this, praise Yahuwah, and you're going to be a better man or woman for it. The other you're just going to dismiss it like you dismiss everything else that you don't agree with. And that's why you'll never change. You'll never have, that moment of clarity where you stand in that mirror and recognize, had I not dealt with myself at 26 years old, I'm very, very confident I wouldn't be the man that I'm in this particular day. The qualifications, all those things that made me the man, the wins, the losses, all of it. The life, the debt, everything. All because I took that moment and dealt with my own self. Like so many of you will never do, and that's the death of you. You're walking dead men, walking dead women, because you refuse to take such the simple instruction. That's why the simple, say warn to the simple, they will not listen unto the wise. The fact that you will not listen makes you simple-minded. You find that precept, that is, what is that? Enoch chapter 97, start reading that verse 16, but then you can come right back, over to Proverbs chapter 1, starting at verse 22. Solomon says it over there too. Simple love, simplicity. Scorners, you love to scorn. Mockers, because you're just a child in a grown man's or grown woman's body. So we get it. Still playing playground, games. But you are a fool when you walk away from this knowledge. Well, look at what Sirach 20 says here. He says what? 25. Sirach 20 says, a thief is better than a man that is accustomed to lying. But they both shall have their destruction as their inheritance. When I ain't no thief and I ain't no liar, well, if you saying Yahuwah told you to say something he ain't told you to say it, you are a liar. If you adding to his word or subtracting his word, you are a thief. So you might want to, back up a little bit before you start talking about what you not. Start asking yourself real questions based off of what you actually do. Because when Isaiah said that the righteousness of a man or woman is like a filthy rag, he's talking about, a menstrual rag, what we call today a tampon. Or, not a tampon, but I don't know what they call it now, a menstrual pad. And we know that's death. That pad is there to catch the death that happens in a woman's womb up until a certain time of her life. Because that womb is supposed to be the carrier of life, and when nothing happens, the death has to, the lack of life becomes death, and it has to leave her body to prepare for life. And he said that particular death is what your own righteousness looks like. When you add into this word and manipulating this word, profaning his word. So, brothers and sisters, you can take these lessons and teachings for what they're worth. And I know David said that it's worth more than thousands of silver and gold. I don't know what it's worth to you. But if you really understood Yahuwah, it means everything to you. But a part of that everything is you got to lose yourself. And I'm not talking about no holy Pentecostal, you just moved over from the holiness church and now you over here doing the holiness, because it ain't the Torah. When you become antagonistic, provocative, without a cause, oh, you're wicked. That's why you talk about the mockers love to mock. That's you mocking, scorning. Well, I just want to say to you, my brothers and sisters, and remind you, time is running out. I don't care what you think. You are going, either you're going to meet Yahuwah one way, or you're either going to die and then you're going to be into the judgment, or you're going to see the judgment and you're going to be into the judgment. You'll be alive, but you're going to face it. And I'm telling you right now, everything in this book is going to be played out in front of your face. And every one of these conversations, whether you reject it or don't reject it. If you thumb the message up, that's going to play out. Didn't do it, that's going to play out. Shared it, that's going to play out. Didn't share it, that's going to play out. Support the work, that's going to play out. All these things are going to be written right down. Every single thing. Every attitude, every thought. Every little rebellious figment of your imagination that you let lead you is going to come back to judge you. This is why when Ezekiel said that when a righteous man turn away from his righteousness and start doing things that he or she is not supposed to do, you will say all the things that righteous person did, say, well, forget their righteousness and I'm bringing back everything that they did unrighteously. And that means if you were serving in any other gods, I'm talking about whether it be in any religion, any sororities, fraternities, associations, atheists, it doesn't matter. You were in rebellion. And you were an offense unto you. He was saying you should have no Elohim before him. No moon, no sun, nothing. So you don't worship nothing above the earth. That's all you sun, moon, Shabbat keepers, fools. So you don't bow down to any of that mess. So you only bow down to him, Yahuwah, the sovereign. Isaiah reminded us, let's do a little reading, and then, brothers and sisters, I'll let you decide what you're going to do with this teaching. You'll decide for yourself. At the end of the day, you're going to own the outcome of every decision that you make, just like I'm going to own the outcome of everything that I say and make and what I'm doing. I'm comfortable with it because it lines up with this Torah. Or if it lines up with this Torah. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 44. It says, yet, now hear, O Jacob, my servant Yashrael, whom I have chosen. And as I said yesterday, the Yah's best is now an astonishment to the whole world, a proverb, a byword. And all because we won't walk away from our old selves. We won't do what I did, looked in that mirror and came to the realization that it had nothing to do with my melanin and had everything to do with the mindset that I had at that time. And that was, do me. Verse 2. And thus says Yahuwah, that made you and formed you from the womb, which will help you. Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, and you, the people whom I have chosen. For I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, and the floods upon the dry ground. And I will pour my spirit upon your seed, your children, and my blessings upon your offspring. And they shall spring up as among the grass, as willows by the course waters, like David was saying in Psalms 1. And one shall say, I am Yahuwah, and another shall call himself by the name of Yahuwah. And another shall be subscribed with his hand, will write things and communicate things, text things, email things unto Yahuwah, and surname himself by the name of Yahuwah. That's why some of, like Sister Jackson, goes by the name of Hannah now, Shahana. or why Sister Miranda goes by the name of Deborah. Sister Sharon Owen goes by the name of Sister Esther. Brother Cage goes by Zach Yahuah now. We all don't have to do it, but we do have the liberty to do it. Very reason I use Elder DFG. But he said, we'll by a certain name himself, by the name of Yahshua. So it has to align with Yahuwah. We don't call ourselves Muhammad, Ali. He goes on to verse 6. Thus says Yahuwah, the king of Yasharel, and his redeemer Yahuwah Almighty. I am the first, I am the last, and beside me there is no other. So again, it cancels out that whole foolishness that Revelations talks about in chapter 1, that's professing to be Jesus. The lying spirit, trying to exalt itself to the level of the Most High. Exactly what a demon would do. And get a bunch of people to pray to it, like they're doing on this day and all through the week. For all of those who believe in that mess. He goes on to verse 6. But again, thus says Yahuwah, the king of Yasharel, and his redeemer Yahuwah Almighty. I am the first. I am the last. It's like a man said, yeah, I own this stuff and I'm the boss. It's like somebody saying that I own this business and yes, I am the boss. So he's not being contradicted. It's not two, it's one. It's just a declaration of authority. He said, I am the first and I am the last, and besides me there is no other Elohim. And who as I, and who? And he said, big E means nothing else that we should be honoring, worshiping, praying, serving, or celebrating. Including this wicked Yahuahs, Jesus, whatever demonic foolishness that you can hear almost every platform creator talking about it. And even those who are not talking about it, listen long enough, you're going to hear some perversion, new moon shopping and all that foolishness. Leading astray those who are assigned to be led astray. A righteous person is going to stay focused. This is where I am, this is where I'm going to be. Not all over the place. And they keep their word. It goes on verse 7. And who as I shall call, verse 7 again, and who as I shall call and shall declare it, and set an order for me, since I appointed the ancient people. He said, who can do what I can do? Who going to change my mind? Who is going to undo what I did? Who's going to curse what I blessed? And who going to bless what I cursed? Is what he's actually saying here, brothers and sisters. He said, haven't I been this way from the ancient of time or from the beginning? And have not Israel refused to change and refused to be, to be cooperative? And therefore, what? They're now being what? A laughingstock and astonishment. A rebellious people. A people who only going to do what they think is just and what they feel is right for themselves. I would never allow myself to be that way, brothers and sisters. It's not the way of Yahuwah. It's the heathen's way. Verse 7 again. And who as I shall call and declare it, and set in order for me. So I'm the one who make it alive. I'm the one who kill it. I'm the one who bless. I'm the one who curse. At the end of the day, not you. You don't get to decide nothing. So the only choice you got is to choose me. And by choosing me, you assign yourself to you assign yourself to be under those who I put in charge. And I did not put you in charge. That's that Christianity doctrine that's still dry rotting in your brain. He said to tell you what I just said. He also said you ain't going to deal with it, but he said tell you anyway. So you heard it. He goes on to say, and these things that are coming, and boy, whew. Brothers and sisters, if this world had any idea what was coming, I guarantee they would do like they did when Jonah went to Nineveh. Remember when Jonah went to Nineveh and Jonah said, he ain't going to listen? Then guess what? That king got everybody. He said, y'all get down on the ground, take off your, anytime you get negative, put on sackcloth, ashes. He said, we need to do some serious repent. That might have been the same king that was in Egypt, but he remembered what happened. Remember, that king didn't get drowned. He got sent to Nineveh. Read about that in the book of Joshua. If you went on Wednesday night, you already know this. So he knew what Yah would do. And so the people got down. See, if the people today knew what was coming, brothers and sisters, they would cut off everything. They would shut down everything. The stores, the financial system, the religion. They would call down. They would tell the military, stand down. I'm saying, brothers, they would take and close the schools. They would take and, they would tell every single church, shut it down. Tell the people to go home and pray. Not come in this Baal temple. Go home. They would tell law enforcement, everybody, stop. Because all this stuff that you're doing is none of that's going to save you. But they won't. Nineveh did for a little while. But Babylon and all of her cohorts, they won't. All your little religious camps and all of you ain't going to do it. Christian, non-Christian devils. But you heard it. And it doesn't matter, brothers and sisters. They might say, well, I didn't hear it. It doesn't. The word went out. The word is going out. Let him who have ears to hear, hear it. Let her that have ears to see it, see it. But you can be assured it's not going to come back void. This word is circulating the whole earth right now. As soon as it gets downloaded, it's going to be around this whole earth. Whether you choose to watch it or share it or they choose to watch it, that's on them. The word is here. You won't be able to say there was no prophet in the land. You say, that's a lie. Yes, there was. You didn't see him because you were too busy seeing what you wanted to see. You didn't hear him because you were too busy listening to what you wanted to listen to. That's going to be painful for some of you to hear that, but that's what you're going to hear. Yeah, your stomach, you're going to feel like everything in your stomach about to come out of your mouth. He said that, and things that are coming, they shall come. And let them show unto them. Say, let them know. Say, fear not though, neither be afraid. Have I not told you from time, and have I not declared it? Say, you are my witness. Say, there is Yahuwah. And there is Elohim Yahuwah. He said, or is there a Elohim Yahuwah besides me? He said, there is no rock. Jesus ain't nobody's rock. The cobblestone, whatever the hell that stone is over there in Saudi Arabia, whatever the hell that thing is, that stone, whatever it is, you will say, I don't know what that is, but I can assure you, it got nothing to do with me. He said, besides Yahuwah, he said, there's nothing besides me. He said, there is no rock. He said, I don't know of any. That means that's all conclusive. So just him. He goes on to say, verse 9, and they that make a graven image, all of them are vain, and their delectable things shall not profit. The delectable, what's that book called? The Delectable Negro or the Delectable Israel? It means another word for rebellious. One who does not matter. One who's been discarded. One who's being disregarded. Delectable. He said, your delectable things, all these things, these vain things, all these things you think is right, all these things that you are hustling, all these things that you're engaging, all these things you run into, Yahuwah said, at the end of the day, you're going to find out you were wasting your life. You were wasting. It was all a mirage. You were living in an illusion, and you didn't even know it. An illusion that was, how you say, conjured up by witches and warlocks. Spiritual ones, holy ones, ordained ones, called ones, chosen ones. Or they have all kind of titles they apply to themselves. The elect ones. Again, that's why Jeremiah said, you better, that heart of yours is going to get you in a whole lot of trouble, talking about your mind. You're ashamed, but won't admit it. Or you're proud and boastful, with no works to back it up, other than your own pride and your boastful arrogance. Where's the fruit? Whose lives are being changed because of you? And please don't tell us because you put a comment on somebody's channel. Well, you talking about cooking with a low gravy. That's all you got for yourself. Who said, I put you here to fulfill a purpose, woman. I put you on this earth to fulfill a purpose, man. Joshua. I put you here to, you're supposed to engage this earth. You're supposed to make this earth a better earth. But you decided to sit it out and do nothing. And claim I gave you permission, but you can't show us that in the scripture. But they can't show us in the scripture where Yahuwah told them just to live their life out as they're currently doing. They can't show you that in the scripture. I can show you what Sirach, I'm coming right back, I can show you what Sirach said. This is what Sirach had to say. While they sitting over there telling you that Yahuwah told them, they don't have to do nothing else. Well, Sirach says this: a slothful man is compared to a dirty stone, filthy stone. And everyone will hiss, say, smell it. Him to disgrace, so nobody want to deal with you anymore. And a slothful man is compared to the filth of a dunghill, which means, an outhouse. A toilet, the poop in the toilet. So you smell at that. He said they are what? He said they are compared to that. And every man that take or shake his hand, and every man that takes up his hand will shake his hand. And what he's simply saying, that man is going to be dishonored. He said, no, you don't even deal with them anymore. You cut them off because you're going to get that filth and that stain and that shame and that arrogance and that pride and that rebellion. He says it's going to attach itself to you. So he said for us not to deal with these people, brothers and sisters. And these are Israelites. He's saying don't deal with them. Because they're sitting there doing absolutely nothing. No, you may not stink, but to Yah you do. Your hands might be sanitized, but before Yahuwah, your hands are filthy because your hands haven't done the work of Yahuwah. Your hands did the work for yourself. But Yahuwah said, what's coming? It's going to catch you. It's going to get you. You ain't going to escape it. He goes on to say, just drop down what we were talking about, and he said, and the delectable things shall not profit them. And they are all their own witnesses. They see not, isn't that something? Nor know. And that's why they're not ashamed. You wonder why brothers and sisters, they can do and say and behave the way they behave whenever something don't go their way or they disagree with something? He said, that's why. He said, they're not ashamed of their way. They're proud to do that. They're proud to say, oh, Yahuwah is with them when they're doing it. They have no shame. Integrity is a foreign word to them. You can't say you're in a covenant before Yahuwah and then do what you want to do. Are you out of your mind? And the answer is yes, if you think you can break it. And that goes for the so-called righteous stranger. You too. You're disillusioned. You have authority to go against Yahuwah's covenant. If Yahuwah approves it, it's approved. If he rejects it, it's rejected. He said, no, they're not ashamed. Verse 10, he said, for who has formed their own gods or made a graven image that is profitable for themselves? He says, work nothing. So keep on doing, he's saying, just keep on being, a god or a goddess to yourself. Simply meaning you're doing what you want to do. Your version of the Torah. But accuse the prophet of not hearing Yahuwah. Well, you are a liar. My work is for all to see. Can we see your work, please? You mind if we go look in your closet, see what's in there? Please? Maybe that'll get you to cooperate. Can we see what's in there? Guess what? You don't want nobody to see that. Because you hide it. He said the wicked flee but no one pursue it. That's what it means. Doesn't being ashamed, they hide their shame and claim they have nothing to be ashamed of. How pathetic and sad. But that's who they are. Verse 11, behold, all his fellows shall be ashamed. See what I'm saying? Don't deal with it. And the workmen, they all of men. They all of men. And let them be gathered together, and let them stand up. And yet they shall fear, and they shall be ashamed together. And this is why I say, the interview, if you want to go to those other channels, go. You're just going to be ashamed with them. Go ahead on there, go. You'll find out the hard way, they don't pity the sheep. Because they're not Yahuwah's shepherd. They're a shepherd unto themselves. And you're following them because you like the way they look or like the way they talk. You like the idea of a family. See, this is what a family looks like. You don't know nothing about them people. How many pedophiles and child molesters are in our school system under the guise of teachers and principals? How many child molesters and pedophiles and homosexuals are in the churches under the guise of clergy? How many human traffickers and sex traffickers are in your government under the guise of senator, congressman, mayor, councilman, councilwoman? How many of your CEOs under the guise of professional business persons who are in bed with drug cartels? Yeah, paying the drug cartels to bring, workers, into the country illegally, to use them for human chattel, in other words, slaves, working slaves, paid under the table slaves. No, just because they give the image of a family or give the image of wholesomeness don't make them wholesome. It's no more than, than like you've heard me say before. Going in a goddamn McDonald's don't make you a Big Mac. Shouldn't be in no McDonald's, though. I can advise you that is the worst place to be going. Any of these places now, but just for the sake of it. You run into McDonald's every day, but I can assure you nobody's going to confuse you with the Big Mac unless they can get hold to your corpse and do what they do, and then you end up in the burger. Allegedly. But he says, yeah, they're all, together going to be put to shame. They're all little wicked bedfellows. They all, think the same way. They don't know each other, but they're over there agreeing with each other. They love to use the word, my beloved brother, my beloved sister. Code word for I don't even know who the hell you are, but, you saying what I agree with, so you must be right. Verse 12, the smith with the tongues both work in the coals and fashions it with hammers, talking about a blacksmith, and works it with the strength of his arms. Yes, yet he's still hungry, and his strength will fail. He drinks no water, and he will fall. In other words, when you don't have this word, and you're not living by this word, that's what he's talking about, a famine. He said, what did Amos say in Amos 8 and 7? He said, a famine would come. No, Amos 8 and 11. He said, there shall be a famine coming, right, brother? Not a famine of water and a famine of food, but a famine of the word of Yahuwah. That's what he's saying right here. This is the same thing, brothers and sisters. That's the meaning. So you're going to fall. He said, the carpenter stretches out his rule, and he marks his ruler, and he marks out it with a line, and he fits it with planes, the levels, and marks it out with his compass, and makes it after the figure of a man, according to the beauty of a man, that it may remain in the house. He hews down his cedars, chopping down trees, and takes the cypress and the oak, which he strengthens for himself among the trees of the forest. He plants an ash, and the rain nourishes it. Then shall it be for a man to what? Burn. For he will take thereof, and he will warm himself when he kindles it, and bakes bread. Yes, he makes it for himself to worship it. Self-serving, self-righteous, arrogant. You care about nobody but yourselves. He said he makes a graven image, and he falls there down unto it. That's what we're talking about, you underachievers. You can't, here's Yahuwah, is the greatest of everything, and you selling for nothing, calling it something, because it costs you nothing. Verse 16, he burns a part of it in the fire, and a part of he eats flesh, and he roasts the roast, and is satisfied. Yet he warms himself and says, aha, I am warm, and I have seen the fire. And the remnant thereof he makes of Elohim of it, stores it away, keeps it for him or herself. And even his graven image, he falls down unto it and worships it, and he prays unto it, and says, deliver me, for aren't you a God too? We're talking about all these self-idolaters and all these people who worship all these other pagan entities. Verse 18, he said, they will never understand. He said, but Yahuwah has shut their eyes, and they cannot see. And their hearts he's closed, and they will never understand, means the mind. So I could teach, and I could share, and I could push this word out, brother. We could do Wednesday night study, sisters. And some of you, some of them, this is not going to make any difference in your lives. As Yahuwah has closed it. But he said, he has marked you for damnation. He is going to push you in a place of sudden death, and there is no remedy. Because you decided, again, that you know more than the leadership that he put in place. It's called rebellion. Better said, witchcraft is what you are doing. So when you get called a witch, don't get mad. That's just someone exposing your inner and not getting caught up on your outer. They ain't worrying about what you look like. They're looking at what you do. Those who have eyes to see anyway. He says this, verse 9, and none will consider it what's in their heart. Neither is there knowledgeable nor understanding to say, I have burned part of it in the fire. Also I have baked bread upon the coals thereof. I have roasted flesh and eaten it. And shall I make the remnant thereof an abomination? Shall I fall down to the stock of the tree? They don't never ever understand that your prayers are an abomination to me. My thoughts are not your thoughts. My ways are not your ways. Your ways is from the heaven unto the earth is what Isaiah over in verse 55, chapter 55. He clarifies what he's talking about right here. He said, no, we are totally disconnected. You're going your own way, but professing to be my way because you're doing these sacrifices. That's what the burning of the roast, the burning of the trees, the burning of the oaks, all that is about, dear brothers. He said, they doing all the outer stuff because that's what they think is the spiritual part. That's why he say, see that little word says E-L-L? See, that's what he's saying. So you're doing all this little religiosity stuff. You're doing all these little spiritual things. It looks good to the naked eye, but heaven forbid if somebody pulled off that flesh and they would look and they would see a monster. All 5 feet, all 6 feet of you, all 7 feet of you, a monster. They would unzipping your thing, looking in, put that thing way up, pull this thing, say, do this, say, holy, what is that? If only they can see on the inside of you. But Yahuwah sees it. So you're not getting away with it. You and all of your self-idolatry, refusing the change that you claim is necessary for anybody else except for, of course, you. Now, everybody just has to adjust to you, but everybody else has to, how you say, disconnect to themselves. You're the only one that gets to keep yourself. Time is not on your side. I'm telling you right now. And I know you ain't afraid to die, but I hope you're afraid to burn in hell, because that's where you're going. Go to verse 21. And these, says Yahuwah, remember this, O Jacob. Matter of fact, go back to 20. He said, he feeds on his own ashes, a deceived heart has turned him aside, and that he cannot deliver his soul, nor say, is there not a lie in my right hand? In other words, saying, they will never accept the fact that the lie that they think, the way that they think is right, is a lie. That's exactly what Solomon was saying in Proverbs 14 and 12. It says, the way that seemeth right to a man, but it will lead to what? To death. That's what he's saying. In your right hand, you got it all going on. It's like driving a car. This is my left hand, by the way. But you think you're in control until you're not in control. And the day will come. What did Moses tell Aaron and Gad in the book of Numbers chapter 32? He said, be sure your sin's going to find you out. All that shit you hide. They'll learn how to come clean. That's all I can tell you. Y'all purify you now, because if he got to purify you with that fire later, you're going to be in trouble. What did Zechariah 13 and 8 say? 2/3 going to be tried by the fire and not make it. It said 1/3, that's why I said, will be refined as what? Silver and gold. But he said, don't you forget this, Jacob, Yasharel. He said, for you are my servant. I have formed you. You are my servant, O Yasharel. You shall not be forgotten of me. So he said, you ain't escaping my judgment. Some of us, the judgment that awaits us is beautiful, magnificent, unimaginable beauty. Told you something about the dreams I had coming to a valley, and all these beautiful children and everything, and beautiful women and men, and even some strangers there. But it's far beyond that. That awaits those of us who figured it out here. But most of Yahshua ain't going to do it. That's what he's saying. He said, you're not going to be forgotten of me. So everything you did, he said, I'm writing it down. He said, have I blotted out as a thick cloud your transgressions and as a cloud of your sins? He said, return unto me, for I have redeemed you. But that part, return to me, is the qualification for the redemption. That means you should have already repented of yourself. And when did you do that? Not when you stopped believing in Jesus, not when you stopped reading, the New Testament. No. When did you stop being you? Because I sure as hell remember when I stopped being me. When did you stop being you? And brothers, there are people out there saying, well, I ain't never had to change. You're a damn fool then. You're a flat out pagan. Well, I just stopped believing that stuff. But we ain't talking about what you will believe. We're talking about where's your inner transformation. You got lightning? Thunder, I'm sorry. Background? That was for you. I bet you have no testimony because you never did it. One of our dear sisters, Sister Mariska, is constantly sharing with us the breaking down of herself. So that Yahuwah can renew in her a better her. But it's such a rarity, you follow me, when you try to say, well, who are the others? It's, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then all of a sudden it gets real quiet. But there's a lot of people in the room. Who else? I did. And I didn't do it. I was 12 years old, 13. I was a full adult. Gray-haired. Adjusting, changing, and then finally changed so I could be adjusted by Yahuwah. And now my heart is guided by his word. I don't care nothing about nobody's personal opinion, what you agree with or what you disagree with. That's witchcraft. That's your stuff. It ain't Yahuwah stuff. And so, brothers and sisters, we gotta learn how to disregard them people. And they start talking, like I say. Like I said a moment ago, when I say zip up and cover up, that's what you just zip up and cover up. Don't just put your hands up, don't listen to them. Pull your hat down over your head. Why listen to them? Yahuwah's not listening to them. Yahuwah said they don't see him anymore. If they ever saw him, they've been stopped. And some saw him and said, oh, hey, and kept going. Some saw him and stopped for a while and said, oh, this is interesting. Then something happened that they didn't agree with, then they went on along. Then some more stopped. Stuck around for a long time. You thought they were never going to leave. But then you said something that hit that little sore spot. And they gone. And then their son ain't going nowhere. And they're not going to stay in hiding. They're going to stay and they're going to be present. Those are the ones that we trust. Those are the ones who are anointed by Yahuwah. And the book said there will be a very few of them. But hallelujah. Goes on, picking back up at verse 23. It says, sing, O heavens, for Yahuwah has done it. Shout, lower parts of the earth. Break forth in singing, mountains, O forests, and every tree therein. For Yahuwah is redeemed Jacob and glorified himself in Yasharel. That's for those of us who are the overachievers. We don't sit and do nothing. We engage, we make it happen. We're willing participants, and our behavior does our talking. Heard the thunder again. Thus says Yahuwah, your Redeemer, that formed you from the womb. I am Yahuwah, that makes all things, that stretches forth across the heavens alone, that spreads abroad the earth by myself. So all you other believers, whatever you're believing in, I don't know how you dealing with that scripture. You're not dealing with it. I get it. Pastor said, don't worry about that. Pastor going to hell, and you going to hell right along with him. So that frustrates, he said this, he said, I spread myself across this whole earth by myself. That frustrates the tokens of the liars. See, the liars don't want to hear the truth. See, the liars are going to get mad because I'm saying what I'm saying. And they're going to find some kind of way to justify being angry at what I said, brothers and sisters. Leave it to the liar. He finds a way to lie. She will find a way to lie. But she'll never call herself a liar. That she ain't going to do. But that's too much like repentance. And they can't repent because Yahuwah has marked them for destruction, for damnation. They can't repent. That's why they won't do it. While we're sitting around, I wonder why they haven't repented yet. I wonder why they haven't turned back. I wonder why they can't see this. I wonder why because they don't think they did anything wrong. That's why. They don't find no fault in the way they live their life. But if you let somebody walk in that house and start looking around, it'll be a whole different story. Goes on thus, he says, verse 25, that frustrates the tokens of the liars, talking about the power of you, and makes the divinators mad that they hate this truth. That's why they won't subscribe to this channel. I get it. And I'm not trying to use some kind of reverse psychology on your little wicked asses. I know you ain't going to subscribe because you think it benefits me. And you don't have enough sense to know that it doesn't. You better learn about YouTube and subscription. I don't want no damn plaque to put on my wall from, oh, he got 1 million subscribers. Look at my plaque. And I'm so proud. I wouldn't wipe, a monkey's ass with a plaque from YouTube. You serious? No, we're going to be the righteous remnant. The ones who are here, that's who we're going to be. Right there with us. We're going to just move together, right on out of harm's way. We're going to leave you. Y'all can have this world and all the liars and the claiming they love Yahuwah, but their hearts are doing whatever they want to do. They ain't going to do the word. Especially if they find that word detestable. Delectable. Verse 25. Say that Yahuwah frustrates the coins of the liars. In other words, their belief system. He frustrates them because they can't get over the truth. The truth is here, and they be trying to manipulate it, and they come right back, nah, here's the precept, this is what that means, you got it wrong, so you don't know what you're talking about. You're taking situations out of context because you want to apply something to your own selfish way. And you know it. And that's what the damnation part comes into play. So there is no remedy for you, is what it says here, brothers and sisters. Because of that behavior, they become divinators, sorcerers. They get mad at the truth. That turns wise men backwards and make their knowledge foolish. They don't like this Torah. They don't like this truth. But boy, they'll stumble across something over here, and Yahuwah said, yes, this, and they're like, well, I don't see that. I had to see but can't see. It's not funny. It's sad. It's judgment. But it's true. Verse 26. And they confirmed, and he that confirmed the word of his servant. Oh, really? So Yahuwah will confirm my word. What you going to deal with that? How you going to deal with that? You that don't trust no man, how you going to deal with it? You that everybody, nobody got all the truth. How you going to deal with that? You're not going to deal with it. Like you always deal with things you don't want to do. You just don't do it. To your own damnation, of course, but hey, you don't believe that either. Verse 27, that confirmed the word of his servant and performed the counsel of his messengers. That says to Jerusalem, you shall be inhabited, and the cities of Judah, you shall be built, and I will raise up the decayed places thereof. You're going to destroy it, and then he's going to redo it. Then he'll give us a new covenant, a new heaven, a renewed earth. Isaiah talks about that in chapter 66. Verse 27, and that says to the deep, be dry, and I will dry up the river. That's Yahuwah's power. Nothing greater than Yahuwah. But he says, I'm going to send my messenger. Listen to him. But the people will say, well, we don't have to listen to him. Who made you king, Moses? Moses, we holy men, Moses. You are with us too, Moses. What are you talking about, Moses? Leave us alone, Moses. You don't, we're going to do what we're going to do, Moses. You do what you're going to do. Moses said, no, not so fast. That's not going to happen. Yahuwah's going to judge this. And because of your behavior, you're going to burn in hell. You sons of Levi. You sons of Reuben, Dothan. You sons and daughters of the rebellion, Israelites. Yeah, talking about you. Praise Yahuwah, not all of us. But to us is those who are with us, not those who gone astray. Doing your own thing. I don't follow nobody. Well, you just got judged. The moment that thing came into your brain and you held on to it, that was your judgment. You damned yourself. Let me be clear. You're like, well, I know it's my judgment. No, you just got damned to eternal fire. You're going to burn. Can't go against Yahuwah's word. Make up your own rules. Say you don't add to my word. Just read that to you in Proverbs chapter 30, verse 6. You weren't listening? Say you're a liar for saying that. You've been lied to. You lied to yourself. You played yourself, as they used to say in the street. You played yourself, man. Verse 28. And that says of Korah, he is my shepherd, and shall perform all my pleasure. Y'all remember what happened to Korah? Yeah, he lied. Found it the hard way. And shall perform all my pleasures, even saying to Jerusalem, you shall be built, and the temple and your foundation shall be laid. Who will say, back up. The way that seemed right to a man or woman, you better learn my ways. What did Enoch say? Who are those who want to learn the ways of Yahuwah? Come in here, Enoch. But see where that pride gets in there, brothers and sisters? And they're so-called humble. You're not humble if you can't be corrected. You're not humbled if you can't be obedient. You're not humble if you can't be led. You're not humble if you can't change or unwilling to change because you don't agree with something. You're not humble when you go attack somebody just because you think you can, because you don't agree. That is pride personified. The audacity. But that's Yasharel. That's religion in Yasharel. See, that's the change that never happened. the change that isn't changed, the change that never will change. Who is coming? Believe it, don't believe it. He's about to judge this place any day. There's a few of us just hoping that Yahuwah can get us out, together before it happens. I trust that he will. But for the rest of you, old saying, that ship you on, it ain't the ark. That ship you on is a sinking ship. Share it, thumb it up. Thank you guys who stand with me, supporting the work. I told you the truth. Till the next time, Shalom, Yahshua.